My sister handed out party favors to everyone she deemed important at my cousin's birthday party. My daughters received a gift bag with a sticky note on it that said, "Try harder next year." We didn't make a scene. We simply left the next morning. Later, my sister opened her front door and screamed so loudly a neighbor called the police. I wish I could say I was surprised. I wish I could tell you that my heart sank or that the world seemed to freeze when I saw what my daughter received, like in those overly dramatic movie scenes. But to be honest, it felt like something I had been anticipating. Not in a hopeful way, but in that heavy, sinking way you feel when the inevitable finally happens. The party was at my sister's house, a place that looked like it had been pulled directly from a Pinterest dream board. Giant balloon displays were coordinated in matching colors. A dessert station so elaborate it looked like it had its own publicist. The birthday twins were dressed in matching Born to Shine shirts. Children raced around, clutching embroidered party bags like treasure chests. My 7-year-old daughter clutched mine. She wore the glittery headband she had chosen that morning, the one that, in her words, made her feel like a galaxy. She had been nervous before we arrived, as she always is in large groups. But she had practiced saying happy birthday twice on the way over. She even made 2 small cards, one for each cousin, on which she carefully drew stars and signed them with love. I was simply proud of her for walking through the door. My husband and I stayed near the snack table, making awkward conversation with people we barely knew. I tried not to notice how my sister barely looked at us, how my mom gave me that stiff, warning smile that meant, "Don't make a scene," how my dad offered a single nod before returning his attention to slicing the ham as if it required surgical precision. Then came the gift bags. Each was adorned with glittery names and filled with stuffed animals. Bubble wands, custom water, bottles, and small keychains with the child's first initial. The kids lit up one by one, tearing into them as if it were Christmas morning. Finally, a gift bag was given to my daughter. A plain white paper bag with no sparkle, no name, just a crooked sticky note on the front in my sister's unmistakable handwriting. "Try harder next year." My daughter stared at it as if she was trying to interpret it differently, as if something inside would make sense of it. She reached inside to find a snapped crayon, an old eraser, and a single peppermint candy that appeared to have been buried in someone's handbag for weeks. That was all. I saw her throat tighten. She looked over at me, and I felt her small hand reach for mine, as if preparing for the impact, as if she thought she had done something wrong. Then the adults laughed. My sister was the first to laugh. It's that loud, pointed laugh she makes when she wants to show she's in charge. "She's been acting out recently," she said, waving it off as if it were cute. Interrupting, talking back, crying over small things. "This is just a little wake-up call." My mother laughed. "It's good for her. You're too cuddly with her, Avon." My father grunted a half laugh, as if it were all awkward but harmless. The other children laughed as well. They had no idea why. Children never do, but they followed the lead. My daughter smiled that tight, trembling smile that children get when they are trying not to cry. My husband looked at me, not with shock, but with something calmer, more steady. He knelt beside her, gently took the bag from her hands, and said, "You don't need this. Let's get some real cake." We stood up. I didn't say anything. Neither did he. We took our hands and left the house as if we were fleeing a burning building. No one tried to stop us. No one yelled after us. Not even my sister. At home, my daughter sat on the couch, staring at the glitter stars on her birthday cards as if they might rearrange themselves into a reason. "Was it because I didn't say thank you quickly enough?" she asked. "No, sweetie," I said. "It's because some people forget how to be kind." She nodded. She clutched the cards to her chest as if they were protecting her heart. She fell asleep on the couch, curled up under the soft throw blanket her father gave her last Christmas. The one that says, "You are safe. You are strong. You are loved." I sat in the kitchen while my husband made tea. Neither of us said much. We didn't have to. This wasn't a new development. It was simply the last one. After a while, he said, "I've Paused the payments, the rent, the grocery card, the electric fund, everything. I nodded. I opened the drawer where we kept our important documents and took out the folder I'd been quietly adding to over the years, text messages, photos, a printout of the email in which my sister asked me to look after her children for a week so she could go on a much-needed solo reset trip, the Venmo receipts, including the one where I paid our parents' property taxes and they said, "We'll pay you back after the cruise." The folder was thick. I added one last item, the sticky note, "Try harder next year." I slid it into a clear sleeve right on top. My husband watched me without saying a word, but when I looked at him, he nodded, not as if he was giving me permission, but as if he was saying, "Finally." The next morning, I quietly dropped something off. No message, no confrontation, just the truth. They wanted to teach my daughter a lesson. Fine. They were about to learn one as well. It didn't start with my daughter. That's the part that stings the most. It should never have gotten to her. She should have been safe, protected, and loved by her entire family, not just the one she was born into. But it did begin long before her. It began with me. Growing up in my house meant learning how to perform, how to mold yourself into whatever version of a child received the least criticism that day. It meant reading the room before you even learned to read a book. It meant that silence was safer than honesty, and that pretending to be happy was easier than explaining why you weren't. Emma was always the favorite. It was never said aloud, not directly, but it didn't have to be. It was in the tone of voice my parents used when they spoke to her, in the way they lit up at her stories even when they were boring, and in the way my accomplishments were met with a distracted, "That's good," while Emma's most minor victories were met with celebration cake and 50 family group texts. I recall coming home in the 3rd grade with a perfect attendance certificate. I had fought through colds and stomach aches just to get that paper. I proudly handed it to my mother, who barely glanced at it before saying Emma was named Student of the Month. That, is a much bigger deal. When I brought home a B+ in math, a subject I had struggled with for months, my dad said, "Your sister never brought home anything less than an A." When I was cast as the lead in the school play, they didn't come. Emma had a volleyball game, a practice game, not even a tournament, but it was important to her. So they said they'd try to make the next one. They never did. Birthdays were the worst. My parties were always joint celebrations with Emma, despite the fact that our birthdays were nearly 2 months apart. My name was an afterthought on the cake. One year, they gave us one gift to share. It was a pair of rollerblades. In Emma's size, I was either too much or not enough, too quiet, too dramatic, too shy, or too opinionated. I cried too easily. I asked too many questions, talked back, and sulked. I didn't smile enough. I didn't smile correctly. There were no bruises, no yelling. Just a constant low hum of not measuring up and then being told I was sensitive for noticing. When I was 15, I came home crying after a teacher accused me of cheating on a test. I hadn't. I was heartbroken. My mother's response was, "Well, you do keep to yourself a lot. Maybe you look suspicious. Next time, try to smile more and act normal." At 17, I finally mustered the courage to tell my parents I might be depressed. My mother rolled her eyes and said, "That's the new trend, isn't it? Everyone thinks they're depressed. They're just bored. Find a hobby." Emma told me I was being dramatic, then borrowed my phone charger and never returned it. By the time I left for college, I was numb. I didn't expect them to show up for Mom Day, and they didn't disappoint. They mailed me a card a week late with $25 and a sticky note that said, "Don't blow it." I didn't blow it. I finished school, got therapy, and learned how to label things. EMOTION, neglect, scapegoating, passive-aggressive control. I learned how to unlearn it. When I met my husband, I was still afraid of being too much. I once apologized for crying during a movie. He didn't make a big deal out of it. He just gave me a tissue and said, "That scene really hit, huh?" as if it were the most natural thing in the world. He was the first person to ask me what I really wanted for my birthday, and not only did he ask, but he also got it right. Not because he guessed, but because he truly listened. When I told him about my family, I softened the truth, making it sound eccentric rather than hurtful. He didn't pry, but after meeting them for the first time, he quietly squeezed my hand under the table after dinner and said, "You weren't exaggerating. After our daughter was born, I let my family back into my life. I wanted her to have a large family, cousins, holiday traditions, and doting grandparents. I wanted her to have the kind of childhood I never had." The comments were subtle at first. My sister made comments about my daughter's outfits. "She dresses a little differently, doesn't she?" My mother insisted on forced affection. "Don't be rude, sweetie. Give Uncle Bill a proper hug." My father made fun of her when she cried at loud noises. "She'll have to toughen up if she wants to survive in this family." I tried to explain. I told them she had sensory processing issues and that she needed understanding, not ridicule, and that she was doing her best. They dismissed me and rolled their eyes. "You're overreacting," they said. Emma accused me of being a snowplow parent, claiming I was raising a future pushover. And the moment I started setting boundaries, I became the problem. I was labeled the problem, the difficult one, the dramatic one. Every time I stood up for my daughter, I was met with the same weapons they had previously used on me: dismissal, sarcasm, and cold shoulders. They even acted as if they were pitying me at times, which hurt even more. "She just wants to feel important." I once overheard my mother whisper to Emma, unaware I was listening. "Let her have this," she said, as if defending my child was a passing phase or a meltdown. And I let it go. I let it go more times than I could count because a part of me still hoped. Hoped they would change, finally understand, finally see her. But they never did. They only saw themselves, their desire for control, their preoccupation with the family pecking order. My daughter was not an individual to them. She was simply the next in line to receive the same treatment they had given me. This time, however, I recognized it, and this time I had a choice. I could keep giving them opportunities to chip away at her the way they did to me, or I could put an end to it. I chose her. I chose myself. And tomorrow, they'll know exactly what that means. We didn't get much sleep that night. My daughter eventually fell asleep, still clutching the birthday card she had made for her cousins in her small fingers. I stayed awake on the couch, staring at the blinking cursor on my screen, daring me to finish what I'd started. At 4:07 a.m., I emailed the landlord who manages the duplex where my sister lives, informed him that I would no longer be providing the monthly supplement we had agreed upon. It was never officially documented, but the landlord knew my name and that the rent always came from our bank account. His response arrived within 20 minutes. "Understood? I will inform her of the updated balance today." It's at exactly 4 a.m. My husband began drafting the letter to the loan company about the car. Our names were on the paperwork. Our credit was at stake. Our money had been used for the down payment. Emma had defaulted twice before we intervened. This time we didn't intervene. We backed away. We printed everything at 6:02 a.m. Text messages, emails, screenshots of group messages in which my daughter was labeled difficult. And Emma wrote, "It's going to be just like her mom, oversensitive and exhausting." There was even a voice memo, a clip from Christmas 2 years ago when my mother, unaware my husband was recording a family moment for posterity, leaned into Emma and said, "Don't bother getting her anything nice. She never appreciates it anyway." They were talking about me. By 7:02 a.m., everything was in the folder, labeled annotated, and bound with a crimson ribbon I found in the junk drawer. A ribbon from one of Emma's kids' birthdays. I hadn't planned that. It just felt right. We drove to my sister's house at 7:30 a.m., no words, just the envelope. My husband gently placed it on the doormat. We rang the doorbell and left. We were halfway down the street when we heard it. The scream. "Hi!" the unrestrained sound that erupted from her throat as if it had been there for years. I didn't turn around. My husband gripped the steering wheel tighter, and for a moment, he smiled. Later, I discovered that the neighbor had come outside in his robe, assuming someone had been injured. He called the police after seeing Emma on the front lawn, red-faced and frantic, clutching the folder as if it were radioactive. When the officers arrived, she tried to tell them it was harassment, that her crazy sister was attempting to ruin her life. They looked through the folder, then calmly told her it was a civil matter, nothing illegal, and nothing to escalate. This is the truth. By noon, my phone had blown up. 38 messages from my sister. The first few were all caps rants. What the hell is wrong with you? Do you think this is funny? Then came the guilt. We're family. You can't do this to us. Then the begging. Please, you can't just stop paying like this because of a joke. Then the threats. If you don't take this back, you'll be sorry. My mother called 4 times, leaving a voicemail on the third. You've gone too far. This family has always had problems, but you just lit a match. What do you want from us? She sounded more angry than sorry. I did not respond. Instead, I sent the digital version of the folder to our extended relatives, my aunts, my uncles, and my cousins, with no commentary, just a simple subject line, in case you ever wondered why we stopped showing up. By the end of the day, I had 20 replies. Half of them were variations of, I had no idea. One cousin sent a single line, good for you. The real repercussions began 2 weeks later. The landlord followed through. Emma had 30 days to pay the full amount or be evicted. The loan company flagged the car. Her late payments resulted in a review, and she was issued a warning. My husband smiled when he saw the notification. My parents called my husband, not me, my husband. She won't listen. To us? My mom said. But maybe she'll listen to you. Tell her we're sorry. Tell her she doesn't have to do this. He told her the truth. She's not doing this to you. You did it to yourselves. They showed up at our house the next morning. My daughter saw them through the window, and her face went pale. I met them at the door and did not let them in. We just want to talk, my dad said. This is getting out of hand. No, I said. This is called consequences. My mom attempted to cry. There were no tears. I didn't budge. They left a generic sympathy card in the mailbox. Inside it said, "We miss our family." I returned it with a sticky note. So did I. Then I went back inside where my daughter was, reading on the couch, her legs tucked under a blanket, her face peaceful. She looked up and asked, "Were they mad?" I shook my head. They were loud. That's not the same. She nodded. My husband took us out for ice cream that night. We didn't celebrate. We simply breathed. But in that quiet breathing, there was something new. Peace. And it was loud as hell. For about a week, there was silence, or rather, a quiet rage humming just beneath the surface. My sister had gone nuclear, to be sure. But after the initial scream, the flurry of texts, and the failed attempts at guilt, things went dark for a moment. I thought that was it. Maybe they had finally gotten the message. They had not. 10 days after the front door folder drop, my daughter came home from school with a note from Emma in her backpack. It was on pastel stationery with small hearts on the edges as if it were intended for a child. The message inside was brief. If you ever feel sad or confused, remember Auntie Emma loves you. You can call me anytime, even if your mom says no. My daughter looked up at me, perplexed. Did I do something wrong? The anger rose in my throat before I could stop it. This was no longer just about boundaries. This was manipulation, deliberate, targeted, and low. I called the school right away. It turns out my sister used a friend's name to gain access to drop something off for a niece with no ID check, no oversight, just a sticky smile and a name. That afternoon, I filed a formal no-contact order with the school, the district, and the police. I sent a cease and desist to both my sister and my parents. My lawyer sent a follow-up. 2 days later, a fake account began tagging me on social media, calling me ungrateful and posting blurry childhood photos with captions like, "Some people forget who raised them." Another anonymous message said, "Just remember, kids grow up. One day, she'll know what you did." That was the final crack. I sent everything to my lawyer, who forwarded it to law enforcement. My sister posted a crying selfie with the caption, "When your family turns on you," which sparked a sympathy parade until the truth began to quietly leak out. One aunt, then a cousin, then another. Cousins' screenshots were circulated and voicemails were replayed. People saw the receipts in the same way I had. My parents did not take it well. They attempted to rally the extended family with an emergency Zoom call. I didn't go, but apparently when someone asked why I hadn't been invited to Grandpa's birthday last year, my mother froze. Someone else inquired as to why Emma had been using money from the family emergency fund when she was the only one with a steady income. Another person inquired about the birthday incident, specifically whether the story circulating was true. It was. By the end of the call, 4 people had quietly left the meeting. My parents stopped sharing photos of family events online. My sister deactivated her account. Then the letter arrived. A desperate, rambling letter from my mother written in blue ink on personalized stationery. "Family is complicated. We made mistakes. But at the end of the day, we're all we've got. Don't punish everyone forever over one misunderstanding. Your daughter will regret the distance, and so will you." I didn't respond. Instead, I framed the letter and placed it next to the sticky note that had started it all. "Try harder next year." Then I assisted my daughter in hanging fairy lights around her new bed. She chose the soft ones that slowly change colors, as if they are breathing. Her breathing had changed as well. It was now gentler, easier, not as tight and tense as it had been before. She made 2 new friends in art class, kind, curious girls who didn't laugh when she needed earplugs or quiet time. She began sleeping through the night. "My heart doesn't feel like it's buzzing anymore," she told me one morning. I hugged her so tightly that she made a small squeak. And then something else happened. At the end of the school year, her class held a family day. Students could invite one adult to eat cookies and show off their art. She chose me. Of course. Her art project was a painting with abstract swirls of galaxies and soft pink comets. She had written in black paint in the corner, "Safe is better than big." On the way home, I asked if she wanted to get ice cream. She said yes, then paused. "Mom, yeah, baby, you did the right thing. Even if they say you're mean, even if they never talk to us again, you did the right thing." I blinked away the lump in my throat. "Thank you, sweetie. That means everything." She leaned back in her seat, a quiet smile on her face. Later that evening, I checked my email one last time before going to bed. There was a new message from Emma. No subject, no greeting, just 6 words. "Are you happy now? You won." Not respond. I didn't have to, but she was mistaken. I didn't win. I walked away. And for the first time in my life, I didn't look back. Perhaps I went too far. Perhaps I didn't go far enough. Sometimes I still wonder if I should have said something more at the party that night. Or if leaving in silence was the loudest thing I've ever done. I wonder what my daughter will remember one day. And, more importantly, what she will not have. To unlearn because I stopped it in time. But now I want to ask you, if it were your child, what would you have done? Would you have walked away, fought harder, or let it go completely? Tell me in the comments what you would have done. Did I make the right decision, or did I go too far? And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and honest, hit subscribe.